Hello. My name is Winder, and I am the coach of the Everton Espeons, and I am excited to talk about my team for the Serene X Open Cup. Now, what is the Serene X Open Cup? This was an invitational league crossover. This was set up by Edu, who is someone who I met in the GSC, which is also stands for the Global Serene Cup. And they are also part of I believe it's a Brazilian league, called Open BR. I believe that is the name of it. I apologize if that's wrong, but this is information that is something you would normally ask, but, you know, this is me being me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to not ramble here because I recorded this once and I didn't like it. Because I kept rambling. Anyway, so, Serene X Open Cup is a crossover league. It's between the GSC, the Global Serene Cup, and Open BRs. There were 8 coaches from Open BR. Edu was one of the coaches from the Open BR, and then 8 coaches were selected from GSC to, go into 16 coach draft league. It is Nat Deck singles. It is 11 mons, 120 points, no cut moves like Tail Glow, Hidden Power, Pursuit. And I was selected as one of the coaches to represent GSC, which I was super surprised about, to get the offer and to, think that I was worth it. To think I actually, I'd proven myself enough to get invited to this, and I was like, that's really cool. I'm really happy with that. So yeah, it's a super big honor to actually do this. So my draft. Initially I had a different plan. The plan went away immediately because my plan actually involved getting a late pick, but I ended up being 3rd pick. So the mons I wanted went round 1, but I didn't expect them to go round 1 at all. So, my plan, changed several times throughout this draft. But the end result I'm pretty happy with. So yeah, let's start off with 1st pick. So I was 3rd pick overall. I think 1st pick was Clefable, 2nd pick was Landospherian. And I was like, okay, I've got an early pick, let's make it count. But I also want to make sure that if my plan ends up going through, which it didn't, or my backup plan ends up going through, which it didn't, then I've got a mon that can work with, anything, really. So, a mon that works with anything, and that can do anything, is Mew. Mew I haven't used since Gen 6, when I actually did draft leagues quite a lot. And it's a good Pokemon. It's a very good Pokemon. Just because it's hard to cover all of its sets. Off the bat, it gives me a Stealth Rocker, it gives me a Defogger. It gives me all the setup options in the world. Swords Dance, Bulk Up, Calm Mind, Nasty Plot, whatever. It can do anything. It can never do anything especially great. Never do anything outstanding. But because of just, being able to do all these different things, it's hard to prep for every Mew set. You can't go into a week and go, I'm gonna prep for every Mew set, so yeah. Mew's a mon that I'm hoping to be quite creative with. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of just, Roost, Defog, Stealth Rocks to U-turn and just run it defensively. There is going to be some weeks where, it needs to fill that defensive role, whereas, some of my other defensive pieces can't fill that defensive role, Pure Psychic's actually a fairly good defensive typing. So, just having Mew as that option is quite nice. I don't know. Mew's a hard Pokemon to talk about because it can do so much, but it's how much are you going to use it in clever ways? I'm hoping to use it quite intelligently and not fall into a trap of just being defensive, but we'll have to see. Because we all know me and just being bulk, which this draft is bulk. As someone I was talking with, I was like, how do you... I'm not sure if my draft looks very threatening. It's like, your draft doesn't look like the most threatening. But your draft looks a pain to break through. I'm like, well, that's me in a nutshell. It's just pain to get into. Just pain to just break open cores, which I like. I like this sort of playstyle. But as for my second pick, I had no idea what I wanted. A lot of great mons gone, a lot of Pokemon I was actually comfortable with using went. I had no idea what I wanted. So I asked some of the GSC people. I was kind of like trying to keep in touch with a few of them and, get ideas because, I picked Mew, which doesn't really give me any leeway of what I want to do. I was like, okay, I have no idea what I want. And someone's, I believe it was GF, someone who I don't think I've played at all in the GSC, or just had much interaction with before this, but they were great throughout this draft. They gave me a lot of great ideas, and this was kind of the start of it, and really what kind of gave me my path initially of what I wanted to do. So they gave me the idea for this Pokemon, and I was like, it's a Pokemon I never would have really considered, or at least if I played draft long enough, maybe I wanted to try it at some point. But it's a Pokemon I wouldn't have considered for a while. And I was like, you know what? Sure. It's apparently a mon that can work in any team, and yeah, I'm really excited to try it. And that is Mega Aerodactyl. So Mega Aerodactyl back in Gen 6 was not actually considered that great of a Mega, but it's got a lot of buffs since Gen 6. The two main ones being Dragon Dance and the Wing Beat. So Granted, Home Claws is honestly still a fine setup move, which is what it had in Gen 6. Just because it means you don't miss your dual Wing Beats and your Stone Edges. But Flying Grok and ground coverage is very hard to switch into. An actual reasonable bulk on this thing, which means it's not just going to falter like regular Aerodactyl. So I'm very excited about that. It's super, super fast. You know, base 150 speed, base 135 attack with tough claws. So like, you know, your crunchers, your elemental fangs, you know, and most notably dual wing beat are actually really strong. You know, getting that, it's 33% boost? 33? It doesn't say. But I believe it's a 33% boost, so, like, it means that, like, dual wing beat is actually on par with, like, Brave Bird, but instead of having recoil, you have a 10% chance to miss. It's gonna cost me at some point, but, you know. It's better than when I was using Tornado Sphere in last season of GSC, and I was relying on Hurricanes, so it's better than something. It's better than nothing, anyway. But, yeah, Aero can also set rocks, it can also defog, so I have 2 rockers and 2 defoggers, but neither of them really wanted to fulfill, like, either of those roles. Mew I tried to think about, like, completely blank. Like, it was a completely blank slot. I didn't try to think about it as anything, because I didn't want it to influence any of my decisions, you know. It's like, cool, it can stealth rocks, it can defog, but I don't want it to be ever locked into that role. If it can fulfill that role, or, you know, sometimes it will have to force that role, you know, in certain matchups, but I don't want to think about that in this, in the context of this team, so. I've got 2 stealth rockers that don't always want to set up rocks, and I've got 2 defoggers that don't always want to defog, especially Aero, because it's a flying type that can't run boots, because of having to ult the Mega Stone. So I was like, okay, I definitely want to make sure I've got good hazard control for this team, because if Mega Aero is going to be, like, one of my main offensive mons, because, you know, this is the second highest pick of my team, my second pick overall, and my Mega, like, this thing's going to have to put in a lot of work offensively, so, you know, we're going to have to make sure it can do that. Oh yeah, Psychic Fangs is really good for this thing too. So yeah, but Mega Aerodactyl is a mon that I'm really excited to try, really excited to use. And I even know it's good because in GSC last season, I got 6-0'd by it. So, yeah. Thanks for that one, Bailey. Really appreciate it. Anyway, on to third pick. Only 4 Pokemon got taken between. When it goes like, the wheel comes back to me pretty quick because of being third pick, so I kind of able to get mons that I want. And 2 of the types of mons that I was told are really good to make sure to have with Aerodactyl are Fire and Fighting, because Steel types can be an issue, because they're the one thing that can resist both its stabs. You've got Earthquake, but it's not as strong as your stabs. So I was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. So Fighting type, it was a couple of fighting types were suggested to me, and one of them really stuck out to me, but I was like, that's a fighting type that sometimes I don't even see get drafted at all. Whereas there's a fire type I have in mind. There was a few fire types I had in mind, but this one I felt really strongly about, and so I went with it, and I was like, this one is probably not going to make it back to me. And that is Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat shares, unfortunately, its two weaknesses are shared by Aerodactyl, which is unfortunate, but, you know, other than that, like, it gives me a good electric type to start with. This is probably the highest tier electric type I've actually drafted, which is kind of crazy. Like, other than Rotom Wash, like, because I used Rotom Wash in the past, but, like, Rotom Heat now is considered on par with Rotom Wash just because of heavy-duty boots. This gives me a more reliable defogger than, you know, the first two picks. But also is very easy to go offensively with its Scarf, whether it's Specs, whether it's Nasty Plot, or just play more of a defensive role with Will-O-Wisp and Pain Split and Defog. Pain Split is not the best recovery, but it's good enough for this Pokemon. And with, you know, just Overheat, Volt Switch, and Thunderbolt, just like, it's not a lot of coverage. Rotom Heat just, it feels like it doesn't have a lot, but what it has is just like, it's hard to switch into, and it forces like a lot of mind games. And again, this is also a steel type this is also a fire type that, like, not all steels are going to be able to beat unless they carry rock coverage. And rock is a type that I end up patching up very easily with this team. In fact, in my next two picks, I patch it up really easily, because obviously I'm going to be going for a fighting type, and there's other types that resist rock as well. So yeah, Rotom Heat, really happy to have, and this is like the beginning of Bulk City. Like, Aero Mew, like, it could have been taken in any direction, and this is the beginning of Bulk City. Because yeah, this is me. I love my bulk. It means I can play in a style that is much more comfortable for me. But it also means, like, these Pokemon, like, all the Pokemon on this, I think most of the Pokemon on this team have the potential to be defensive or offensive, which I'm really happy with. It means all the Pokemon can really be used in a flexible sort of manner. So, anyway, I'm going to stop rambling, because that was my problem last time, and why I'm having to re-record. Fourth pick. We went away, you know, 24 picks, I believe it is, between me and the next pick. I think it was 24 or 26. 26. There's 26 picks once the wheel, like, goes away. Came back to me, I was like, right, I'm getting my steel now, because I know I want my steel now. Because if I let my steel go, then things could get problematic. I want to make sure I've got, you know, I wanted to make sure I had a dedicated rocker. That was something I knew I wanted, because I didn't know if I was going to get anything else that would set Stealth Rocks on my team. And, you know, with two Pokemon that aren't always going to want to set Stealth Rocks, I wanted to make sure I had something I could bring to almost any matchup and just set up Stealth Rocks. So, the one I decided on was Registeel. Registeel's super bulky, on both physical and special front, and it's just great at setting rocks and just being a wall. It's what it is. It is a wall. It's not got bad offenses, honestly. Like, 75 is not the best, but it could be worse. The main thing as well, like, offensively, is it has Iron Defense Body Press, so it can actually deal damage. But for the most part, Registeel, you think of it as, like, a really annoying steel type. It doesn't have great recovery, unfortunately. You know, it's only got rest. I think it gets rest. Yeah, it gets rest. But at the same time, like, this is a mon that, like, is hard to break through. And, you know, combined with, you know, Mew and Rotom Heat and Aero, this already felt like a really great pick, because all three of its weaknesses I had something for. You know, Fire, I've got 2 resists. Fighting, I've got an Aero to scare them out and a Mew. And then Ground, I've got 2 immunities. So I was like, Registeel just feels like a natural on this team. It felt like it fit so well with what I already had. And it was a dedicated rocker, which was something I wanted to make sure I had, because I didn't know if I would get any more rockers. GSC Season 2, I started with 4 rockers, and I ended up with 2, but one of those was Ferrothorn, and so I felt comfortable just having, like, if you have a rocker that, like, you know you're going to be, like, you know you can bring to, like, almost any week, then you don't need a million rockers. But I've got a bunch that can set rocks, but I've got something that can very clearly set rocks. But, you know, just Curse Registeel's a thing, you know. Might do that at some point. We'll see. It has the potential to go offensive, but this is easily the most defensive Pokemon on the team. So, pick 5. You know, 4 picks go, and I'm like, alright, I'm gonna get my fighting type now, because I wasn't sure, between, deciding I wanted it, I decided maybe I don't want it, and then I was running some calcs, and I was like, no, I do want this, never mind. So, I ended up grabbing Buzzwole, a Pokemon that I never would have considered, because I don't like times 4 weaknesses in draft. Times 4 weakness to flying is kind of an issue, but it's still really good. The stats are insanely good. It's a physical tank. It can take hits from the physical side, it can dish them out just as hard, even potentially even harder than some physical hits are gonna just hit it with. Reasonable speed as well, it's just, 79 is not bad, honestly. Obviously, the special defense is kind of a letdown, but at the same time, you can give this thing an AV and it can do just fine. You can make it bulky with Roost, you can make it super offensive with Life Orb, or a Choice Band even. You got bulk up options, or power up punch options, you got a little great coverage. Buzzwole's a scary Pokemon, honestly. Because if you do just, go super offensive, say, just go, I don't know, Drain Punch, or Close Combat, Leech Life, +1, and Roost, with, a Life Orb, it can really put on a lot of pressure, and really great at wall breaking. It's super good at wall breaking. Just breaking down some Pokemon, which can open up all the Pokemon on the team to, you know, get the sweeps. Or it can do the sweeping itself, because Beast Boost is a very good ability. This is also the first Ultra Beast I've ever used, because I never played a Gen 7 draft. All the draft experience I had prior to GSC, you know, joining it, almost a year ago, it was all Gen 6, so I never played with the Ultra Beasts, so I'm excited to try Buzzwole. Really am. So, 26 picks went and came back to me, and there were 3 types I knew I wanted, which was why I was finally letting Buzzwole go. There were 3 types I knew I wanted. I knew I wanted a Fairy type, I knew I wanted a Grass type, and I knew I wanted a Water type. Those were types I felt like were really important just to get, and I was also like, okay, I want all of these, but I also want to make sure all of them have some form of recovery, because I'm gonna, you know, I like having bulky Water type. Grass types can be offensive, for sure, but I like them just to be able to recover just in case. And Fairy types, you generally want them quite bulky, just so you have Dragon switch-ins. And there were a few that I wanted. Florges is already gone, even before I picked Registeel, Florges is gone. And I was like, well, there goes my go-to Fairy type. I had that in GSC Season 1 and Season 2, and it had gone round 3. So I was like, well, I'm really going to have to think about this. So I looked, and I was nervous the entire draft. I forgot how... It's been a while since I've done a draft, so, like... I forgot how nervous I get during drafts, but... The Water type I wanted ended up making it back to me, and that was Vaporeon. Vaporeon is a Pokemon I've used in doubles, actually, surprisingly. And I'm not sure if I used it ever in single... No, I absolutely used it in singles draft, never mind. I absolutely used it in singles draft, back in Gen 6. I believe it was actually part of one of the first teams I ever made. One of the first drafts I ever had. It was like this, Skarmory, Shaman, Zardex, a few others. I can't quite remember. There were a few good mons on that team, but Vaporeon was my bulky water for that, and Vaporeon is a mon I really like. We also recently did an NU tournament in... Not an NU tournament, but an NU ladder tourney in GSC. And Vaporeon was a Pokemon I got to use there. And turns out Wish with Flip Turn is really good. Just because, like... Whoosh. Wish plus Flip Turn is really, really nice, because it means you can, it's like, it's like Teleport. Vaporeon's relatively slow, so it's often gonna get to, past the wishes really safely. So, yeah. Also, I said this before, I like Pokemon that can also deal damage, and based on their special attack, with Hydro Pumps and Surfs and Ice Beams, it's not got the best coverage, but, like, Water Ice is always good coverage. Gives me, like, a dedicated Wishmon, and just a really bulky Water type, which I am a fan of. I like having a nice bulky Water type on a team, because it's bulky Water types. They're just good. They always have been. And I can't see a day in which they won't be, so. Happy with Vaporeon. 4 picks went by, and going for my 7th pick, I looked at everyone's draft, and I went, I'm going to go for my Fairy, because I don't think, there's a lot of people that still want Fairies. This is the one that I'm going to go with. I'm going to let the Grass type go. So, I went with Comfey as my Grass type. I spell Comfey. Comfey is another one I've never used, because it's a Gen 7 one, and I never played in Gen 7 drafts. From watching people use Comfey, though, in like other leagues that I haven't participated in, and some leagues that I have participated in, Comfey seems like it's a mon that does one of two things. It either Calm Minds all of your opponent's face and just wins the game, or it does absolutely nothing. I'm really hoping it can put on a show. Comfey is a really cool mon. Triage is an incredible ability, honestly. It gives this team a nice bit of extra priority. This team isn't the fastest. It's got Aero, it's got, like, I think one of the fast mon, other than Comfey and Mew, which tied a base 100 speed, which is the only tied speed stat on the team, I believe. But it also gives the team good priority because of Draining Kiss, because of Giga Drain, because of that Triage ability. You've got Priority Synthesis as well, Leech Seed. It's also another own therapy user. It's also another defogger, not something I expected to pick up, but now that's 4 defoggers. And yeah, no, it also gives Taunt, U-turn, which is really, really nice. Get that pivoting, give it that momentum. And Comfey is just a Pokemon I'm really excited to try out because it does It can be just a defensive fairy type if it needs to be, but also it can just win the game. Because, like, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, Giga Drain, like, if you play to a Comfey endgame, you can easily win games. And just picking up, like, KOs with Draining Kiss and Giga Drain, to pick off things that may not have gone down just because of, like, this team sometimes may not have the best offense, just because it's more bulk-focused. And Comfey being able to pick off those last little things, is quite nice, so. Yeah, no, I'm excited to try out Comfey for sure. Just check. Cool. I'm just gonna swap soundtracks for you guys, because I don't know when this one's gonna run out. There we go. So, the wheel went again, 26 picks, and I was looking at what was left, and I was like, okay, there's a few things that I want to make sure I grab. I still need a fast mon, I still need a dark or normal type to make sure I don't just lose to ghosts. I realized now I wanted a ground type because Regieleki was taken and I did not want to just lose to that mon, so yeah. I knew I wanted a ground type. I still need my grass type, so there's a few things I still wanted, and I was like, okay, look at everyone's draft. I see like 2 people that can take a grass type, and especially the grass type I wanted. Maybe 3. I'm like, I'm going to focus on everything else first. So, for my 9th pick, I ended up going with Mudsdale. Mudsdale, again, is another Pokemon that I used in that NU ladder tournament, which ended up getting swapped out, mind you, but that was because my team had literally had no answer to Rotom Mow, like, defensively, so I needed something for that. That wasn't a Mudsdale problem, that was a Rotom Mow being a pain in the butt problem. So, but Mudsdale, really good attack actually, a lot better than I would have thought. So EQs from this thing actually kinda hurt a lot. Slap a Choice Band on this thing and it's actually gonna run through a team. It's super slow, unfortunately. But the good HP, good defense, and reasonable special defense actually make it a really bulky Pokemon. And 2 abilities that make it immune to Intimidate, but also Stamina. Stamina plus Body Press was something like I knew was good, but after trying it, it's a lot better than I would have given it credit for. Because it means you're physically defensive, and then you're still just dealing so much damage. Especially, you know, non-invested earthquakes will deal good damage, and you get a lot of great coverage, you know, like heavy slam and like rock moves, and you know, I think that's about it really. But yeah, like for 8 points, this was like the third lowest thing I drafted, because a lot of my Pokemon kind of hovered around the middle range. I drafted 3 11-point Pokemon, and yeah, no, Mudsdale's a solid bulky ground. Obviously, it can't heal itself, but I knew I wanted a ground type. And I'm hoping Mudsdale can impress me, because I haven't seen Mudsdale do... I've seen Mudsdale sometimes do incredibly well, and sometimes it's done nothing. And I'm really hoping that Mudsdale can kind of prove to me as a bulky ground type. It's also another Stealth Rocker, so it was another Stealth Rocker that I ended up grabbing. Never intentionally, I just wanted a ground type, but I got another Stealth Rocker, so Registeel isn't the only Stealth Rocker that's like a dedicated Stealth Rocker. This can easily come and set Stealth Rocks, but it also can just come in as with Assault Vest set, take hits, and be annoying. Unfortunately, like Registeel, it doesn't have great recovery outside of Rest, but we do have a Wish Passing Vaporeon, which can help both of those. It also helps out Rotom Heat, because that doesn't have the best recovery, so yeah, there's a lot of like bulky synergy on this team. Funnily enough, I like bulk. And it's going to be up to me to make sure I'm actually not just sitting back and be defensive, and actually have offensive pressure. Which, funnily enough, leads us into our next pick. So, I'm still in need of something faster than base 100 that isn't Mega Aerodactyl. And I had 2 options, but if I wanted the grass type I ended up going with, I couldn't actually take one of the things that I wanted, which was Sneasel. I couldn't get Sneasel. I wouldn't have the points for it. So I went with something 1 point lower, and some would consider arguably better. And that is Tauros. I think it's about Tauros. There we go. Tauros. Really good mon actually. For a low point pick, it's pretty good. It gives me that upper speed, you know, it gives me something in between aero. It's not much, you know, base 1 speed. I mean, I'm still gonna get outsped by a lot of things. But at the very least, it's forcing a lot of Pokemon to run Adamant. Forcing a lot of Pokemon to run, like, a plus speed nature in case I'm bringing max speed Tauros. Which, by the way, I will do. I will just bring max speed Tauros just to throw people off. Just because, yeah, Tauros is kind of here for that. It's also, you know, gives me that normal typing, so I'm not just getting, you know, destroyed by Spectria. And with Intimidate, it's actually reasonably bulky, especially on the physical side. You know, 75, 95, not bad on bulk with Intimidate. But obviously, we know what Tauros really does. It's Sheer Force, it's a Life Orb, it's Body Slam, it's Iron Head, it's Rock Slide, it's great coverage options that really make it not an easy Pokemon to switch into. Especially because this one is better at going special than I would have ever given it credit for because of Sheer Force. Sheer Force Life Orb boosted, like, Ice Beam, like, actually, like, does really good damage to, like, Salamence, for example. Fire Blast will actually be able to deal good damage to some Steels as well. Instead of having to rely on Earthquake, like, you know, like Flamethrower is gonna Oko Kartana, for example. It's not, like, Kartana can't come in on this. Try and sit up all over your face. And plus you're faster than Katana, which is really cool. I don't even know if Katana... Is it good? Yeah, you know, Katana got drafted, yeah. So, yeah, Tauros, I'm really excited to try it out. I'm hoping, like, this is the second lowest tier Pokemon on my team. The second cheapest. And I'm really hoping that it doesn't just fall on the wayside. Like, I know I have a habit of making my low tiers fall on the wayside, but I know, like, last season in GSC, for example, I brought, like, this a Pokemon at the same point value, Weezing, to, like, 4 or 5 of my games. So, I know I have the potential to bring defensive, not defensive, but lower tier Pokemon. So, yeah, I'm really excited to try out Tauros. So, 26 picks went, they came back to me, and my Grass type didn't go, and I was like, I'm so happy because my Grass type didn't go. And I keep talking about this Grass type. But I'm like, looking at the 2 people ahead of me, I'm like, they can't even afford my Grass type. So I'm going to get my other Pokemon I want. So, I ended up going with a Pokemon that actually had to be added to the dock, which is Swirlix. Swirlix is something I took massive inspiration from a good friend of mine, Fat Rat. We met almost a year ago now, which is kind of wild to think about. And Fat Rat was someone I met in SxOC Draft League, but ended up actually doing really well in singles as well. And a league that they won for singles, they ended up using Swirlix. And I had no belief in Swirlix, but now I absolutely believe in this Pokemon. It's actually, for 1 point, this Pokemon's actually not bad at all. And why is it not bad? What can it do? Well, it's a 1 point Pokemon that can Death Sticky Webs, and has Unburden with Focus Sash. So that's what it does. But for 1 point, having Sticky Webs as an option for this team when it's, you know, not the fastest on the planet, you know, it's relatively slow because it's bulky, because it's me. But having webs as an option for this team is really, really nice. It means some of the, you know, like, I can run, like, max speed Buzzwole with webs, and start punching holes in teams, for example. You know, I can, you know, Mew's not going to have to set up Rock Polishers and Dragon Dancers and stuff like that to get the speed that it needs, to, you know, tear things down. And, you know, also essentially remove Scarfs for things like Tauros that just want to, you know, ram their head into the wall. It's not a very complicated Pokemon, mind you. It sets up Sticky Webs, and it has Unburn, with Focus Sash, so you can just, like, throw out one random move, like a Yawn, for example, and just force switches. So, yeah. Really excited to try out Swirlix. Just for a 1-pointer, it was something I just wanted to try. And, yeah, now I'm happy to have it. It gives me another hazard, because at this point I only had Stealth Rocks. Stealth Rocks are great, but having the option for more hazards is really nice. And that leaves us onto that final pick, that Grass type that I've been alluding to for more than half this video at this point. And I'm excited about it, because this is my second favourite Pokemon of all time, but honestly I'd tie it with Espeon at this point. I rep the Everton Espeons, but if there's any Pokemon I ever changed my mascot to, it's Roserade. I love Roserade so much. It's such an amazing Pokemon. It's really offensive. It has reasonable bulk on the special side. Good, like, reasonable speed, especially with webs, for example. Has spikes and T-spikes, and hits like a truck, dude. This one with a Life Orb just bops things into next week. And, you know, reasonable coverage as well. You know, you've got Dazzling Gleam, you've got Shadow Ball. It's not an easy Pokemon to switch into, and you can just run Sleep Powder because you hate everyone. Roserade is a really, really scary Pokemon, honestly. It's something that I've had trouble prepping against. And I also know that using it, you know, I used it in doubles, I've used it in the past in singles, and it's a mon that I really do love. There's unfortunately no Technician Hidden Powers, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, you kind of made up for it with the fact that you, like, you know, you've got, is it just Extrasensory? I thought I got Psychic as well, but it's Extrasensory, you've got Psychic, you've got Ghost, you've got Fairy as coverage, and then you've got all the great grass moves, and you've got Sludge Bomb for poison. Roserade is, like, the special breaker of this team, whereas Buzzwole's the physical, this is the special. This also gets Pollen Puff as well, which is kind of cool. So yeah, that is the whole draft, for the Serena X Open Cup. So you can kind of have a look at it here. This is the whole team. There's going to be 7 weeks overall, as you can see. The conference, it's split up into 2 conferences. We play everyone in our conference, and then playoffs happens. So it's going to be a mix of people from GSC, so it's going to be some familiar faces, as well as some brand new faces. And even then, for you guys, it's going to be a lot of new faces, because I didn't end up recording my GSC Season 2 run. So yeah, I'm really excited to use this team. There's a lot of Pokemon here that I've never used, a lot of Pokemon here that I have used. A lot I'm really excited to try it out. So yeah, I guess I've technically never used Mudsdale in Draft either. So there's like 3 Gen 7 ones, which are weird for me, because I didn't play Gen 7 Draft. So it's a lot of Pokemon, and this is a draft that I didn't expect that I would get it. So obviously it's gone with bulk route because it's me, and I'm comfortable with bulk. Maybe it's gone too bulk, But I think it's got enough breakers and cleaners and sweepers and, you know, all those buzzwords thrown around. That it can really put on a lot of pressure. So I'm really excited to try it out. If I don't do well, you know, it's whatever. There's a lot of great players in this league, and to be as part of it in general, I'm pretty excited to be here and just doing what I can. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching. And I will see you guys next time. I'm really excited for week 1 to start. I'm not sure when it actually starts. Grace period is currently in process, so, and like until later today as of recording this. So, but you'll see the, you know, the videos pop up when they do. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.